There was a bigger intrusion at the US Capitol a few days ago than it appears, beyond breaching Congress. The Capitol and IT information security staff are digging to determine the depth of the cybersecurity impact. Was it just stealing hardware, or something more critical and nefarious? My name's Alex. I'm a hacker and a geek, and on this channel we explore all things hacking, the people, projects, and plots that help us become more knowledgeable and overall happier hackers. Today, we dig into the cybersecurity ramifications of the intrusion into the US Capitol. Days ago, the Capitol was physically breached, an event that has not occurred in over 200 years. The cybersecurity ramifications and work effort now needed are mind-numbing. Staff needs to secure the US Capitol building, as every single network security best practice declares it must be treated as a fully compromised network because of the physical access. They need to get it up and running so our US Capitol can get back to work. And there's so many hurdles in their way. A single attacker while the breach occurred could have done any number of a handful of things that would totally decimate the security of the network. To start, they could have easily just stolen physical items. Computers, hard drives, documents, even shredded documents could present a risk. They could have also installed new hardware into the network that would be very difficult to detect, like hardware keyloggers, packet grabbers, any number of Hack5 devices which are just open for the public to purchase. But even more nefarious yet, they could install an access point, and depending on the security, it might actually open their network up to attackers who weren't even in the building. But forget about hardware for a minute. They had physical access to the system, so they could have installed software. Actually, many of the congressmen and women said they weren't even able to lock their systems before leaving. That means an advanced skill set wasn't even required. Malware, backdoors, keyloggers, or any number of just ransomware could have been installed onto the system. And number 4, they could have exfiltrated data. Just simply remove it. They could have used a USB rubber ducky, or an HID device, or a USB flash drive, or any number of ways to extract data off a system. All the documents, all the emails, anything was up for grabs from a software perspective. The number 5 is the scariest because it has the longest impact, and that's injecting data. Not malware, but data like an email or an action or sending something to a staff member to conduct 3 days from now. Let's theorize about this impact of injecting fake data. Oftentimes we look at stealing data as the worst thing that could possibly happen. But think about the impact of injecting a single communication at the wrong time. It could be a CEO with an internal communication calling the company bankrupt. But more subtle yet, imagine a CFO asking the chief accountant to make a tax return change that would have tax implications years later that would move the stock price. But on the government side, we're talking about communication from Congress people, where fake news is so prevalent. How likely is it that a fake communication might be confused with a real one? Or a real one would be called fake? The US Capitol staff needs to fully execute an incident response plan and disaster recovery to establish a secure network. They must be under huge stress, and the stakes are so high because one piece of undetected hardware could siphon data over the cellular network, and that's not easily detected on the internal network. The most likely case is a full physical reconnaissance of the building. The Capitol staff must rely on documented policies and procedures that hopefully are well maintained. As a governing entity, they need to follow a NIST framework that requires testing policies and procedures on an annual basis. So like a fire drill, when an actual event occurs, they're prepared. After doing a full reconnaissance of the building and removing any suspicious devices or issues, a complete wipe is most likely or has already occurred to rebuild our Capitol's once secure network. Most likely, the cybersecurity at the US Capitol building will never be the same. They'll have to write new policies, new procedures, new steps, and more fire drills to prepare for weirder and crazier scenarios. Like when a large group of people enter the Capitol building, which isn't a military presence, hiding one person with a hidden agenda. If you got value out of this video, please like, subscribe. I hope the IT staff at the US Capitol is getting enough sleep, drinking enough coffee, and if you want a lighter topic, I did a review of my favorite hacker fiction book of all time. It's called Damon. Thanks for watching.